You see, that was essentially just didn't require any kind of polygon modeling, anything like that, just playing around with vector trace and then playing with some simple textures and shaders, and you can get a pretty cool result.
Now, because when I noticed you put yours in, it automatically did like a 3D thing, but like mine is stuck as a line and I don't know where to do.
Did you click outlines on when you save the image, the image trace? It looks like if you do outlines, it's just gonna have literally the lines instead of making it 3D image.
Back again in Illustrator here. Go ahead and reopen. So again, let's just assume here I've got a shape, an object here that I want to make this complex shape without having to model it, right? I can image trace. Now again, this is a black and white logo, really. It's only a single color. So I can go with black and white. Okay, it automatically is going to do the black version. And then if I go into my option box here, next to the black and white, I can come to advanced and say, ignore the white, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave with this, expand, ungroup. Now the white, you see, remember now, the white vector on the outside here is the exact shape as this outside curve here. So I don't want the white. I only want the minimum of it. In fact, I'm not going to take these two. I'm going to take these two or this one. I'm only going to deal with this one. Now again, I don't. Otherwise, it's giving me the inner shape and the outer shape, which I don't really need as a single color logo graphic. All I need is this. Make sense? Now that's why I moved it over here in the gray too, so I can see it's just a single value. Now all I have to do here is just save this as an Illustrator file, right? I'll just call it gears, save. But I have to use the version of 8 or lower because it turns off all that compression capability. Somebody said you can do it as the newest one as long as you turn off these. But in my world, I don't even trust that. I just go with version 8.
Okay, so I restarted.
So that's an Illustrator file. Now here, go ahead and turn off these items. Here, in order to bring in that Illustrator file, it's a create Adobe Illustrator Object. Now, if I option box, I can change these parameters. Or let me just reset them to their default. Doesn't really matter now because I can change them later. And I hit create. Now it's asking me to find where is the file that I just did, gears, open, okay? And you see, especially if I were to center pivot it so I get my axes in the center, it has built that geometry. Now there's a few areas you see, there's one messed up right here, you see that bubble? There's also one here. Now if I go back to Illustrator, what that's telling me is that somewhere in here, you can see where, look at the Maya here to see, okay, so which one is it? It's from the top, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 is the one that's giving me trouble. 1, 2, 3, and 4. What it's saying here is that somewhere here, there is a vertex which is a little out of control, okay? Somewhere here. Now, I can go through and try to find which one of those is doubled up, or the easiest way would be to select the whole thing, object, path, simplify. And even here, I can do the options, because what it'll say is that originally it had 152 points, vertices, right? And by simplifying it just a little bit, I'm now down to 91. And what it does, even though it's not a perfect, you see some of these are square and some of these are round. That's okay. But what it does is it's eliminated the chance of points being overlapping each other. Remember, we had that problem, we hit smooth, and if there was a point hiding behind another point, it gave us crazy geometry. So I'm just going to resave that back to Maya here. And then when I find that Illustrator, I can reload. And it totally screwed it up. Put up.
My image isn't even coming in, right, so.
If it's not coming in, it's because there could be an opening, a deletion. Yeah, I don't know why that did that.
Like it's not even.
Let's try adding tolerance. Ah, look what happens if I add tolerance. Hey, look at tolerance. Cleans it up a little bit. Now it's giving me still a problem right about here. Would that be? Looks like it's somewhere up in here where it just wants me to add maybe a vertex. Okay, so I just added a vertex there. Let's try resaving it. Back to Maya, reloading it, and you see now it's fixed. But what I had to do is increase my tolerance to get it to snap to be a better version of it. See that? And now I can go back to my Bevel-Plus and play around with things like extrude distance. See that? I can change the depth of my bevel. I can change the width of my bevel. I can change the outer bevel type.
I think mine crashed.
And I can go ahead to the inner bevel type and change what type I want that to be. Mine just got locked up on me too. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh. I just got it to work. No.
Okay, and tolerance, boost the tolerance. Inner. There we go. Concave out, concave out. Okay, see what it's done. Now that's also back to, again, the Bevel-Plus polygon options. We can increase that because remember now this is not something that we would be animating, deforming, rigging, right? Because it's got too much detail to it. But I can boost that quality to get to about there. Yeah. And you see, if I were to go and model that, it would take me absolutely forever. But using the Bevel-Plus or the Illustrator Object tutorial here, I'm able to get that result with very little effort. It's all about, though, making sure that this is a clean trace, or as clean as possible. And if it's still giving you errors, playing around with things like tolerance, playing around with things like tolerance here, to get the better version of what you're going for here. Obviously, there's some errors in places where it's not really looking all that great. That gives me the ability of creating this in a very, very quick way. Try something else.
It's frozen.
Mine shut down 3 times already.
And what that's telling you is that if it's having issues creating anything or locking up on you, it just simply means that your Illustrator image trace is too heavy. You've got too many vertices and it doesn't know what to do to convert that to shape. We could actually always add more geometry once we delete by history, and we can then do bevels and add edges and stuff like that, slices for more control.
I choose
This is a way of modeling heavy to get the detail you need, as opposed to starting lightweight and then adding detail, adding detail, adding detail. Let me think of something that's completely different here. Let's say,
So what do you do when none of your images are working?
let's see.
Like the first one I did, it started just making some weird wonky thing and I figured, okay, it's too complex. I literally found an image that I probably couldn't get any more basic and it's not doing it. And now it keeps just shutting down Maya every time I try to do it.
Let's try clip art, tools, color, black and white. Okay. So here you see I've got a lot of variety of just silhouette black clip art here. Like, what about, you know, a map of the United States? It's a little too detailed for what I need. Maybe I need to find a simplistic one, or palm trees, or a T-Rex clip art. Butterfly, let's see, I'm just looking for something simple here. Phone icon, hand bear. Here, okay? I need to make a crown for a princess. Okay, so I can come here and I can save image as the tiara crown. Okay. Go ahead and open that. All right, so you see it's just a single value. Now, how do I get this to work best? Image trace. I'm going to stick with just black and white because it's only a single color. Looks pretty good right there, right? I just didn't know if I need to refine it. I can go into this section here. This is actually quite good because then I can decrease the threshold. Interesting, the word threshold is here in Illustrator, but it's also what we do to increase the quality of the beveling. Threshold simply means be more accurate. Don't just guess. So by less threshold means less points. More threshold, you see, is thicker and more points. We typically want less here.
Oh, so if we're having
And
a problem
Illustrator.
here, we should have changed the threshold on Illustrator.
The less threshold means less points, less thickness, all that. Remember, you want less threshold because when we take it into Maya now, we're going to increase the threshold to be more accurate to create geometry between those points. Okay, so I'll just hit expand, ungroup, and now again, this is also it. If we select the same fill color here, because here, if I tried to if I didn't delete, if I don't remove the white, what I'm getting when I go to image trace that or do the Bevel-Plus or the Illustrator Object tutorial is it's giving me extrusion here, 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 and it just, you're not going to be, it's overwhelmed because it's like, do you want the positive or the negative? Because if you save them together, you're getting both, right? So you want to focus on one or the other. I could use this, right? I could definitely use that. And if I use that inside of Maya, it's going to give me the negative. So everything here will be see-through. Like I said, it doesn't even really matter because look at this. This is a great way to understand this. Okay? Great way to understand it here. Right? In the end, the curve, the vector, is just black line, right? Not worrying about color or fill. It's just worrying about positive and negative side of the vector. Same thing can be said with that one. Now, if the two of these, do this here real quick. I'm just going to quickly group it. But if you are not deleting the white, or you're trying to work with the white, essentially what you've got, essentially what you're doing is that right there. Does it make sense now? If you don't remove the white, you essentially are doing this, meaning these are doubled up. And one of them is pointing out positive and the other one's pointing in positive, which means you're just going to get what? A crashing computer, unable to create that because it's like, well, you're bringing it all in right now, right? You don't want to bring it all in, okay? This was the white one. Yes, I converted it to just black line work because that's exactly what it is. It doesn't matter if it's white. It's reading it as a vector shape. So we don't want that. I could. Okay. In fact, I'm going to do this on purpose here. Watch this.
How do you edit the threshold of the? How do you find the place to edit the threshold?
It's in the image tree.
It's in the expand when you do the live image trace. So look at this here. And just remember, don't look at white, don't look at black. Because in the end, it's just a vector. So this is the part I want, right? That was black. This is the white one, looks the same. But this is filling in, this is filling outward. Does that make sense? Let me show you what I mean if I just swap the fill, okay? Even though the one on the bottom was the white, Maya is going to read it as that.
What did he say?
Right there. See that?
I'm literally just flashing and touching it. And it's
So
plain black.
even though it was colored in Illustrator, black and white, doesn't matter. It's still just a vector. This was the white vector. This was the black vector. So if you don't separate that, you're literally having this version where the positive is in, right? And this one where the positive is out of that vector. This is it's the, negative version of that, the reversed direction is a better way to think about that. Okay, so we don't really even need this one, but I'm going to show you here what I mean by that because I took the color away and I'm looking at it as just this. Now watch this. File, save as. So I'm going to do them both here. Illustrator, version 8. Okay. Now here in Maya, I'm going to create Illustrator object. Don't even have to hit the option box. It knows. All right, and you see what it's done. See that? Does it make sense now? What I mean by when I say the positive what we want versus the negative or the white that we want. Doesn't matter about color because it's basically saying here is that this is the negative of our design. That one is the positive. But if you don't remove them, they're going to be overlapping each other and it's going to do them all at the same time and not know what's in or out, positive or negative. Because really that, if you think about it, that actually can serve some purpose. What? But that can serve a purpose here. Like maybe I'm doing some ornate fence design, which has been cut out or something like that. But what I really just want is the object of what I want, the actual design that I'm going for, the actual single color logo. We go here and just remove this. Save. Come here to the Illustrator and load. And you see now I only have this piece here. See that? If it's not working, I can boost the threshold of the Illustrator tab, but also the threshold or tolerance of the Bevel-Plus that's applied. I can mess around with the different settings here for inner or outer. See, so I did a concave out. See that? With the points, and then I can even come here and increase the number of spans and sections of the curve to make a much smoother version of it. And this is where I was even playing around with some of these other modifiers, like the formation modifier, like a nonlinear bend. Okay, because here I am making this tiara.
So I restarted, right? And now it's saying that I can't create it because it failed to create bevel output.
Did you save it for like Illustrator 8? Because I forgot to do that and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, it will not create it because it's got compression and compatibility with PDF. It's encoded, it's compressed. It's got, coding to it that does not allow Maya to read it because it's reading it as a complex modern vector rather than a classic vector. See, look at that. See what I can do, right? I did that with simply just that crown outline and then put that bend modifier on it. And I can create myself a little tiara that can fit on someone's head. And that's pretty neat. Doing that as simple as, see, I think that's pretty neat that you can do something complex like that. And when you're all done, edit, delete by type history takes away the history. So now it's just a model. That if someone looked at that like, wow, how did you model that? That is really incredible detail. I just used the vector element to do it. You can see just some of what the potential is for doing this. Let's say, all right, I just made, look at that. That is impressive modeling in 5 seconds of live tracing a crown, modifying it. And that could be an ornamental or some kind of railing. That could be an actual tiara for a character's head. It's a solid object, so it's not going to bend, stretch, or deform, which it would not work because you see there's no edging or fit on this face. So it doesn't have to bend or else it would fail. It doesn't have to be smoothed because it's already pretty nice height and detail. So a lot of times this vector, yeah, it works for logos, right? But it also could work for actually any type of geometry here. Put in something else here. I mean, you look, see, I had dog paws, paw prints, any kind of like little design, a star, a logo. See, even something, look at like this kind of ribbon, which would be kind of difficult to model, right? Making sure I got a little better one here. Right, so I've got this basic ribbon. Go ahead, open it. Okay, so here I am again in Adobe Illustrator. Show you guys again. I pull it over to the gray. I do an image trace. Works because it's black and white. That'll be best. Okay. Now I can go into the options here and turn down the threshold to kind of simplify it down a little bit. Like so. And then I'm going to expand, ungroup, so I can take out the outline of white. I don't want that. But see, even here, remember, a lot of vector, Illustrator, logo, graphics, text, all that stuff purposefully gives us the outline, right? Like this, to give us the illusion of shading and the illusion of thickness and the illusion of you know, drop shadow or three-dimensionality. But the truth is, it isn't really there. So the black one really isn't correct. It's actually the white that is actually correct here. Or not, yeah, it's white, but not the black. So I don't need all of this because I'm going to give it thickness. So I don't need it all. So I can get rid of this inner black portion. I could even get rid of the black portion on the outside. And even though this is black or white filled, it actually is just that shape there. And even then, I don't need all of this. I can release. Right-click release to get it to its most simplistic shape possible. Which gets me to this right here. You know how simple that is? Nothing fancy about it based upon the original. See? Now I can take that, save as, save, make sure you choose version 8. And now here, I need to create Illustrator Object, ribbon file, and I like to, of course, modify center pivot it so I can see what I'm doing. And there you have the ribbon, and you can see why I just kept it just a single creation. Now I look at that, shouldn't have to be concave out. I could have it convex side edge. See? So now it kind of looks like, or not convex. That's straight front edge. There, I kind of like that.
I can't figure out how to get mine to not do weird things when it goes into like the smoothing. I can't, like, it just,
No, we don't smooth. Never ever smooth, because why doesn't it smooth? It doesn't smooth because when we do this Bevel-Plus from the Illustrator object, right? There is no segmentation on this whole face, which means it's a 80 edged, 80 sided polygon, 250 sided polygon. But when we smooth, there's nothing to anchor that shape. So it just goes and just collapses. But that's why we model this stuff in a high mode. See, it already is high detail. So we don't need to smooth.
so what more am I supposed to do with the?
You do whatever you want to do with it. Okay, you've got that all separate. That looks pretty good, yeah. So, I mean, you could pick up the colors by making shaders and assigning certain colors to the shaders, little, you know.
So how do I do that if?
Okay, the easiest way would be the hyper shade here. Okay, ignore these and just grab like a blend or a fawn, doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and make this one white. Okay, and you can come in here, even here, and add some ambient or, again, ray tracing is pretty cool. Assign, or you can also middle mouse and drag it.
Okay, but what I meant is like that it's all gonna be one color because it's one thing. Like I can't do multiple colors.
Yes, you can.
How
Let
do
me
I?
show you. Okay, let's take this. You can see we can duplicate shading network. Actually, well, it's easier to just see. Okay, delete, Control D, duplicate. No objects to duplicate. Okay. Whatever you say. Oh, that's the Lambert. Never change the Lambert, yeah. We don't have to hear this, the font one. White. Assign. Control D. I don't know what you want. Green, sure, right? Edit. Duplicate. Shading group. Okay, now there's this one. What are we gonna do here? We do a red. Okay, so you can get these different pieces, maybe one more. Duplicate shading. This one will be blue, right? Good enough. Now watch this. Right click face. Double click, it selects that whole face. Assign. Double click. Assign. Click. Assign. Looks like we're missing a color. Yellow. Double click. Because it combines it. Now we could even, now that we got that, hit F8 to get it out of there. You see that. And this is where we can test it with the render engine. It works because we're in the Arnold. Switch to software. Starts to give us our logo. Again, we can always go to options here and change this. Again, software, but change this because you see it's lowest quality. You go to highest quality or something, turning on ray tracing now, and now you'll see even the difference will change when we do, and we're doing it at a higher quality. Nothing really starts to really change here until we start to think about throwing in lights, like create a spotlight. This is what I was just showing her. Watch this, panels, look through selected. I'm looking through the light now. See? So I can literally turn on my lights and aim it by looking through the light as if it's a camera. And me, like I said, I love playing around with colored lights just because they work better. So there's one light, create light, spotlight, panel, look through selected. Another different angle, right, to make more three-dimensionality. Here. And that was a cool light. Maybe this one should be a slightly warmer light. Okay. and then we're going to go panel back to perspective. And you see now it brings out that three-dimensionality of it all. Now we hit the render. Now we're getting reflectivity and all that stuff in there. Pretty cool.
So can we add like things to, like say like we want to add like spheres or cylinders and stuff, like say I want to put like the 3D like Lego like like the notches that it has.
Mhm.
Can I add those onto this? Is that able to be done on these?
Yeah, but think about Lego block.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're getting intriguing here because now you're saying, well, wait a minute. Lego block. Can't believe I spelled that. All right. Tools, color, black. Okay. Try and find one that's just the Lego shape. That'd be what? Lego drawing, Lego, and I'm just looking for an overhead of that. Obviously, I could probably create that pretty easily inside Adobe Illustrator, right? So even here, without even getting fancy here, right? That would basically be, right, a block. Watch what I can do here with this. Let's do that. Okay, do those. And I've even got these tools here to align it. Say make it aligned and make them equally distant apart. Take these guys and combine them. Right? And then just do, oops, I got it by accident. Okay. Okay, so essentially that's a Lego block. Maybe it needs to be a little bit updated. And is it too stretched out? I don't know. The point is that we have this shape, which is the block, and they have these things, which are the nubs. But nothing is cutting out of anything here. So what I can do is just take this and save as Lego, save, version 8. Okay. Now watch what I can do when I create this as an Illustrator file. Lego. I like to do this immediately, center pivot, so I can find it here. Right, lock. But then right click the face. See? Now that's the positive side. The negative side isn't there, but positive side. See that? So you can kind of pull that off and make it look like quick little Legos. Even, yeah, but you know what? See, it even made changes here in Maya. So that looks like a Lego block. It's just this side is not working because really, if you want this side to work, good little lesson after the fact here, right? What can I do here? Extrude. Right, now creates that edge, and I'm not trying to make smooth here. And again, extrude. See? Is that how it works, or are these supposed to be openings? Oh, if they are
The
openings.
yeah.
Yeah, these are openings, which is kind of neat because I could, watch this. Let's go ahead and row and row again. Extrude. This is going to extrude that. I have to select these individually. Just kind of. This is also where I could be working on half at a time. So even though I'm using the Illustrator file to get the main shape done, go with another extrude. And there, in no second flat, is your Lego block. Okay. Geometry, even though, like I say, these pieces are, if I double click them, separate, right? But they're separate, even though they're, so what they are is they're combined, right? They combined them by coming in here. If I select it and I go separate, now it'll separate the individual pieces. See that? Set, pivot it. Coming right up. Okay. And instead of combining it, maybe just Control G and group it. And you see, it's still pretty lightweight. There's obviously a lot of segmentation here I don't need, but the beauty of it is double click edge loops, Alt and delete. Or Control. That one. And I just lightened it up even more. Be aware though, this will not smooth. Why won't it smooth? See, smooth properly because no cuts going across this face. There's no cuts going across this back face. If I want to actually use this as a smoother, I would have to go in here and, you know, cut from here to there, right? And cut from here to there, here. And anchor this big open face that is no longer just a four-sided poly, but how many sided poly? Okay, I've got to do it there. I've got to do it on this side over here. Right. That side over there, and all these would need to be created to even consider smoothing this. Now if I hit 3, you see I'm starting to hold its shape, but then I need to double up and bevel my corners. Again, I've got this problem on the inside. So it's one of those things, like I say, when you're using this Illustrator tutorial model, you're not thinking in terms of making it super, super smooth or whatever, something like that, because you're already worrying about smoothing the edge. And that is actually in the Bevel-Plus option itself of increasing those number of segments. It's already as smooth as you need it to be. You don't need to smooth. Where's this? All right. Now that I've done that, and I'm going to smooth it, I better double up there. I better double up, you know, my corners that we've learned by working with cubes, right? I better double up the bottom. I better double up this. And that's just using, again, those bevel elements there. So you need to sharpen up that corner element. Okay. Now, if I hit 3, actually, I better put a 2 here. Now I can make it be sharp corners, but I got to do the other side too, if that's the case. I'm just doing.
What is the format we turn stuff in at again?
You can turn these in as either an FBX or an MB will be fine. Yeah, MB is fine for these just because the FBX may destroy the process if you haven't cleaned history or something. Not to mention the colors, the textures. Okay. Then I can literally have another one here. And another one there. Lego blocks. Oops. This is where I didn't exactly get the dimensions correct here because you can see this should be able to fit halfway, right?